Hello and welcome to the first of hopefully many reflective account sort of little video podcast that we'll be doing here with our sports management 2P91 course, PR and Communications. So hopefully in this sort of little series we'll be reflecting on the in-class lessons and activities and readings and artifacts. This is completely uncharted ground, so hopefully it's a little bit more entertaining than reading, and hopefully I'll be able to sort of get my points across a little bit easier. So yeah, let's dive straight in then. So as a sort of overview of the course, I thought best sort of to kind of get things going with sort of three little sort of statements or sort of answers questions from the reflective template, if you will. So in terms of how you feel about this course, so I'm feeling really good about this course. I'm really excited, mainly because I did take sports marketing last semester, so I kind of have a good feel of Olin's approach to learning and teaching. I think I've really got to grasp it, and I think it kind of bodes well with my sort of learning, and it's also going to be quite interesting to see. I'm also taking sports sponsorship, the third year class this semester, so it's going to be interesting to see how, and I think there's already examples sort of this week, how those two will kind of marry off on each other, and we'll be able to pull stuff from from sports sponsorship and vice versa. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to taking this course. Of course, no exams is a big plus for me. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. In terms of what I say friends about the course, so of course the reason I'm taking this course is because it's not, this sort of topic isn't offered to me back home. So that's one reason what I say about the course, because I haven't been able to, I haven't been exposed to any of this, and it's it's very interactive. So the way the classes are taught, a lot of discussions in class, and of course we're going to be doing sort of these Twitter stuff each week. We've got a press release, so we're looking forward to that. So definitely, when friends ask, it's very interactive from my point of view. Lots of discussions, and like I said, before, if exams aren't your thing, so then this is sort of the best thing in terms of that for you. What suggestions? So of course, if you've heard me in class, I've already kind of touched upon this as well. In terms of the reflective account, like I said, get started on it early. I can speak to experience. I have to admit, last semester with the reflective account, it took quite a long time to get going, i.e. starting on the last 3 days before it was due in. Definitely wouldn't recommend. So get that going. In terms of in class, I definitely encourage students to speak up in class. Not in terms of right or wrong answers, but in terms of sharing different, because for me, I can talk all day about American football, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the NBA basketball, and I can talk to you a little bit about soccer, so I'm gonna have to call it association football in the UK. But in terms of things like hockey and baseball and a lot of other sort of niche sports, those sort of insights I'm going to have to be relying on other students to provide. So we can all do each other a favor by sort of learning by kind of speaking up in class and kind of sharing it. And it is daunting, of course it is, and but that's why we're here. We're trying to build ourselves into something that we weren't before university. So sort of the summary from me, just real quickly. So of course we didn't have a class on Tuesday, so it was just a Thursday, so it was a little bit of a shorter week this week for me. So I've kind of got 4 key points in terms of the class. So we did talk about streaming platforms and sort of the influence that it has on mainstream sport and also non-mainstream sport, niche sport, if you will. Discuss sort of the two-way communications that's kind of helped by media, so how fans can interact with companies and athletes and vice versa. Also touched on how broadcasters can sort of, it's a made up word, but sort of canonize everything. So even if the country or we're not involved, I say we in terms of Canada, or even from my perspective in terms of the UK, are not involved in the sport itself, that they'll do everything to try and bring it back to to include them, even though they're not participating as such. And sort of my last takeaway was sort of the one-sided politics and how that can be portrayed in the media, and certain figures such as Rupert Murdoch can sort of influence the media, or certainly his media and his influence, to kind of reflect his sort of political views in terms of that. Let's jump into some sort of takeaways from me. So one of the things we discussed was how niche sports niche sports today have the ability to become more popular because of streaming, while more popular sports are finding it harder to maintain viewership. So yeah, I kind of dived into this a little bit, trying to find some information on that. So if we were taking that on sort of service value, as you can see, the TV viewership for the Super Bowl, of course, NFL, American football, sort of the biggest game of the year, that's been dropping since 2015. However, sort of this is still the Super Bowl is still the single most watched event in the US, even though it has been dropping for the past couple of years. More interesting is even though their TV viewership has been dropping, the NFL says that their digital platform viewerships, as you can see, has jumped 65% since 2017. So even though their TV viewership has been going down, they're still able to maintain the overall viewership from utilizing digital platforms. So for my question was how was that happening? And the main thing we're going to use example here with American football, but sports organizations are sort of now able to kind of personalize the fan experience, and we kind of discussed this a little bit in sport marketing last semester. So we have the NFL Game Pass here. So sort of the advantage for this, if you're looking at it from an NFL or American football fan point of view, is first of all, the games, if you do watch them, or if you don't watch them on a Sunday, they are on demand. So NFL Game Pass, you can watch live NFL on your, as you can see, your TV, your PC, laptop, and sort of mobile phone there. So there's two packages. You can get the one where you can watch everyone in the league, and you can get one where you can just watch your own team. Obviously, the prices reflect on sort of that membership. So yes, so fans, if you missed a game, it's going to be there on demand. On demand is, of course, a huge thing in sort of media today. Now everybody will, it's almost, maybe hopefully we'll dig into more as the semester goes on, but it's kind of the thing in society now today where we don't really like waiting for things. Of course, Amazon Prime has utilized this sort of 1 day delivery, 2 day delivery, and it is the same with TV. We don't want to wait around, which we'll also get onto later today in sort of advertisements and sort of TV viewership. But if we stick on NFL Game Pass for now, in terms of, like I said, the fan experience. So with this as well, you can also watch the game and choose from multiple camera angles, which of course if you're watching live on TV, you're subject to the broadcaster's angles. But if you like a certain angle, as you can see sort of in the top left here, it's quite a common angle because it replicates the Madden, the EA Sports game camera angle, and that's the way most people play their game, so they can watch it from there. So kind of it enables the fan to kind of want to sort of customize their own experience, and also you don't have to worry about your local TV listings, because if the game's not on your local TV listings, you usually will have to pick another game or another team to watch. But if they're not on local TV, you just get up your app and you can watch that. So I think the NFL doing a great job, as you can see, with 65% boost in media viewership. So if we bring it back to the TV for a second, so sort of a reason why TV sort of consumption has been going down is because of the use of the second screen. So how even though people are watching TV or the TV is on, perhaps their focus isn't always on it. So here's sort of a few things or a few little points of what people are doing while watching a sporting match, or sorry, I should say TV in the United States. So as you can see, the top one there is looking up who's playing in the show or game, you know, and if that's the case, another one of my sort of questions would be TV advertisement. You know, why is it such a big thing if if sort of the studies show that when people are watching TV, especially when the adverts are on, that their focus isn't actually on the TV and it's more likely to be on their phone. This is probably why we see so many ads now on YouTube, and even when you're scrolling through Instagram or Twitter, you kind of see these little sponsored ads now. It's because, you know, these guys, they know that fans are typically not having their eyes on the TV screens while advertisements are going on. But perhaps the reason that companies still advertise on TV could be for many reasons, but one could be to make sure that their rivals don't saturate the market. And it's one thing that we did speak in sports sponsorship about, that you know, let's take Coke and Pepsi. You know, if Coke were like, well, you know, if our if we're able to reach, you know, this people, and, you know, they're going to look at their phones more than they watch their TV, then Pepsi, you're going to see them on TV all the time, and you kind of, that would be like a big point in this kind of thing. Well, where's Coke gone? So in sort of the caveat to that, I can see why, you know, companies perhaps might still advertise on on mainstream TV. So to jump on, this is called, along with sort of personalizing fan experience, fans are now able to go online and voice their opinions and sort of have a discourse with fans. So yeah, I spoke about these in my previous portfolio, sort of this kind of format where you know, amateurs, so to speak, will come and sort of, you know, give their opinions on how the game went on certain plays. Now we're sort of heading towards the end of the NFL season. You're going to see a lot of people talking about the draft and who they should come out on, excuse me, from college. And you know, I kind of wanted to tie this into sort of that CBC radio podcast about you know, discussing YouTube and Instagram influencers. It's almost the same thing. You know, obviously they're influencing products, but the sort of idea that people who essentially have no credentials are now sort of telling, well, I say telling, sort of sharing their opinions. It's something, you know, that we can kind of tie it into, and it's something that we didn't have before, you know. And again, we were sort of at the mercy of the broadcasters and sort of who we wanted to hear from. And I mean, with these sort of things, it's almost, you know, you can submerge yourself in biased opinion. So these two are very active in sort of the Ravens market. So of course they're gonna discuss things about the Ravens and probably have a more biased opinion towards it than perhaps a TV broadcaster would. So sort of the final sort of things I wanted to wrap up with, sort of going back towards the fan experience, and again how streaming is now helping niche sports. So now we have channels such as the X Sports channel. It says American sports such as extreme biking. You know, that's something that we wouldn't have seen on TV, and now we can sort of see the increase in viewership behind that, and now participation now is getting a lot more exposure, and again with Red Bull TV, and you know, we can kind of almost tie Red Bull in with sort of their demographic. So who are Red Bull, who do you typically see drinking Red Bull? It could be, you can draw conclusions to, you see the skateboarders, the kind of the water sports, the skiers, those sort of guys who are more likely to consume Red Bull products. And now we have a TV channel with them, and it's portraying or showing the sports that that sort of demographic are most likely to participate in, along with buying their product. So yes, those are sort of been the sort of reflections of this week. I hope you've enjoyed listening. That's all for this week. Hopefully this format is a bit more entertaining than the reading. It certainly has been for me. So yes, we'll leave it for this week, and thank you for tuning in.